Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm ACated and this is my build. In today's video, we're going to be building some kitchens. And this is kind of a part of my aesthetic room series kind of thing that I'm doing. So basically, I'm just building a bunch of different kitchen styles and stuff, which I think could be fun and I hope you find it entertaining. It's also fun because it's a good way to experiment with different styles and kind of try new things that I wouldn't usually. I'm not sure what to label each of the kitchen styles because they're not really a specific style of kitchen. They're more just a bunch of similar reference pictures that I found, and then I kind of spliced them together into one cohesive kind of room. But I'm not entirely sure if that's conducive to like an entire aesthetic or anything. Like for example, I'm not really sure what this kind of kitchen would be. It seems more like a turquoisey green kitchen, but then I also have another green kitchen, but this one's kind of more modern and the other one's not. But like it's kind of weird because it doesn't feel like they have any specific labels, there just are. And I can't really say they're colors because this one is green and another one's green, and then it's kind of confusing. And then I think I have two brown kitchens, but they're not like brown, they're like tan. Although those ones are a bit more separate because one of them is modern and the other one's more like Italian Tuscan inspired. But regardless, I'm just building kitchens and that's what we're doing. Yeah. I saw a cool reference picture with these green tiles here, like the checkered ones that are kind of diagonal, and I really liked it, so I recreated it here in The Sims, and I really like how it turned out. I did not notice that the marble had lines in it when I first placed it down. I just noticed that like as I was editing the video. So yeah, it looks a little weird, but I feel like it's probably fine, and hopefully you think it's fine too. As you may have guessed, I'm using the kitchen clutter kit quite a lot in this video. That's probably mostly what I'm using. I mean, it's the kitchen clutter kit, I'm making kitchens, like it just makes sense. But I do use a lot of the objects, and I feel like I do repeat a lot of objects, but it kind of have to because like it's a kitchen and there's kitchen clutter. I don't know, but that's what we're using. I use a lot of that. I also use a lot of Home Chef Hustle thing. I don't know. They have weird names. All the packs have weird names. It's really weird that there's so many kitchen packs specifically. Like there's Cool Kitchen, Home Chef Hustle, and the kitchen clutter kit. But like they're all separate, and you have to pay for each of them separately, even though they have very similar things sometimes. It's really weird. Like The Sims is rather disjointed with their DLC. I know that there's a lot of controversy and stuff surrounding that right now with everything happening. If you don't know, there's a bunch of stuff happening. I'm not going to talk about that because I don't think I'm very qualified to talk about that, and other people have said a lot more than I can say, so I'm just going to do my thing. Anyways, so we're just placing a lot of props down. I did use a lot of things that aren't necessarily for kitchens, but I did use them in a way that might be for kitchens if you use your imagination. So for example, there's like a bunch of little containers that come from, I think, businesses and hobbies, and I don't think it's meant for kitchens. It has a bunch of paint brushes and stuff in it, but I used it anyways because I thought it looks fitting enough. There's also some baskets and stuff, like one of the bathroom baskets I use, and then also one that's for diapers and stuff. I use that because it also just felt kind of fitting. We can just imagine that it doesn't contain those kind of things. It contains maybe food or kitchen things or whatever. Anyways, we've now moved on to the next green kitchen, which might actually be my favorite kitchen in this video. I'm not entirely sure if this is true, but I heard that there's a trend right now of people wanting green kitchens in their houses, and I understand that. I also like green. It's one of my favorite colors, and I feel like this kitchen looks really cool, so maybe that's why. I mean, it looks good. Like, it's just a nice color. I also wonder if it has anything to do with cottagecore, since green is kind of like nature, and it just feels kind of cottagey to have like green cabinets and all that stuff and feel very cozy. I wonder if that's also why, but maybe not. I'm just kind of reading into that a little bit too much. Anyway, so yeah, this is the green kitchen. The other one is kind of a green kitchen, but it's more like green accents. This one is very much green. Like that's the main show here. I also wanted this to be very cabinety, very wooden, so there's just lots of cabinets and storage and drawers and everything everywhere. And I kind of like that. It looks kind of cool. I might actually build like a normal house with this kind of kitchen style because I really like it. Let me know if you want to see that, because I would be totally down to do that. It'd be funny to make an entire house just because of the kitchen, but I don't know, maybe that would be cool. Also, I need more excuses to make some normal houses, because I feel like I can't really make normal suburban houses on this channel because nobody's gonna watch it. Not that nobody's gonna watch it, but very few people watch it compared to other videos. Like for example, I just made a house in Oasis Springs, just like a normal suburban house. I built it just because I needed it for one of my Sims families, and I was like, okay, I might as well make a video about it. And then it didn't do as well as I thought it was going to do, especially because right now my most popular build on the gallery is a suburban house that I built like a while ago. And I was thinking like, okay, so suburban house seems to be rather popular, but then nobody watched it. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. I mean, it's interesting because sometimes my most popular videos don't automatically mean most popular gallery downloads, because some videos that I made, they didn't do very well, but the builds in those videos did very well on the gallery. Very well being got a lot more downloads than I thought they would, or than my other builds usually do. Not that it's like I'm getting like thousands of downloads, more like hundreds, but still. Anyways, let's talk about this build more. So I made some plants and stuff around, especially because this just feels like a very planty kitchen. It's not as planty as I probably would have thought it would be, but there's some plants and stuff around. I have to put the fridge in this little cabinet thing. I'm not sure if it works like that. It doesn't matter for this kind of build because you're not really supposed to play in this anyways, but if I were to make a build similar to this that you would actually play in it, I would probably try to play test that and make sure it works, and I probably wouldn't even do it like that. I'll probably try to do it in a different way. So yeah, for this video it's fine, but for normal builds we'll try to make it work. One of the objects that I really like from the kitchen clutter pack is that little basket of fruit, and also the grocery bag. I really like those. I feel like I'm probably a little biased towards all like the fruits and stuff because it just looks kind of cool, but I really like it. It just adds a lot of color and a lot of aestheticness, I guess, to the build. I don't know if aestheticness is a word. Maybe it's just aesthetic. It just adds a lot of aesthetic to the build. I don't know, that doesn't sound right either. Also, I made all the appliances green. I'm not sure if you would do that realistically. I'm not sure if they really sell those appliances in green, and I'm not really sure if people would actually do that, but for this build I think it looks cool, so we did that, and also it was available as a swatch. I think it's rather fun to decorate the houses that we make in The Sims, or especially like the rooms, and decorate with all the different props and stuff. It's kind of fun, especially to find like the correct props, and then also being creative to use props that you wouldn't think to use in ways that you might not expect them to be used, but then you use them anyways and it looks cool. I don't know, I kind of like that. It brings in a lot of creativity, and it's like an opportunity to like think outside the box and all that stuff. Anyway, so for this room, I had a lot of trouble with it, so I kind of cut it out because I was kind of trying to figure out what I was supposed to do with this. Because originally I was going to do a yellow themed kitchen, and then I didn't like how it was going, so then I kind of like moved around different ideas and stuff. I went with like a wooden kitchen, I went with like a modern kitchen, I went with like a blue kitchen, I think, and I just ended up doing the yellow kitchen again, and I literally didn't change anything and it was perfectly fine. And I was like, okay, maybe it was just I thought it was weird at first, and then I kind of came around to it. Anyway, so this kitchen is kind of themed around rustic, kind of country themed kitchen. It's supposed to be like an older kitchen you might see in like a old house somewhere in like some rural area. I feel like it kind of reminds me of the kitchen I did in the yellow cottage that I made as my first video. Even though they're not very similar, they're not very similar, but it's just the idea of a yellow kitchen in an old house, I guess. It's kind of similar. Like, I'd imagine this is someone's grandmother's kitchen or something. Anyways, I wanted this to be very cozy, very rustic, very country, very adjective. I wanted to add all sorts of different things and clutter and stuff, and I did, and I think it looks pretty cool. I also really like the cabinets that came with cottage living. The counters are okay. They're pretty standard. The cabinets are pretty cool. They come with really cool decorations and stuff, and all different shapes and stuff. And I don't know, they just fit the vibe very well. For this one, I tried to be a little bit more creative, so I didn't really do a typical stove with like I think the mantle, what is it called? The fumigate? I don't know, the fume hood or something. But I didn't really do a typical that kind of thing, and I also put the stove in a corner, because usually I put the stove like against the back wall and like it has its own thing. This one, the stove's in a little corner. I feel like you might see that. Usually you might see the stove and like the oven be detached from the rest of the counters in these kind of old kitchens, at least I think so. So it kind of did something different, but I think it looks cool. I also added some of those little food props that come in base game, especially that little bread thing there. It's really cool, I really like it, so I added that in. It complements the rest of the build pretty well. And it's just very cozy, and that's what I like about it. Also, I forgot to mention, but I got a new microphone, so hopefully it sounds better than my other videos. I'm still trying to tweak the audio and stuff to make sure it sounds good, which I guess I've been doing this entire time, but this is kind of like the first test of it. It's not really the first test. I made a video before this. I did not post it yet because that's taking a lot longer to edit, but that audio was a little bit inconsistent, so hopefully this one's better. Expect to see that video in maybe 1 or 2 videos, one including this one. It might be the next video, might be a video after that, just because it might take a little bit long, but it's okay. It is an exciting one though, because it may not be in The Sims. It may be in a different game. I don't know, stay tuned to find out. Anyways, so I really like how the yellow kitchen turned out. It's pretty cozy, pretty cool. I also added some new lights in the green kitchen just because I thought they were fitting. Anyways, now we're moving on to the next room. Just about now. Yay, I timed it correctly. Anyway, so this one's kind of supposed to be more of like a wooden kitchen, but more modern kind of, like a wooden modern kitchen. I don't know what kind of style that is, but that's basically the idea. I use the counters from Snowy Escape because they're pretty cool and they're pretty, I feel like they relate to the style pretty well. I feel like you'd see this in like a modern house, but not like a modern house that's trying to be very white. I feel like you see this in a more wooden modern house. Like you might see this in like a modern cabin somewhere in like the mountains or something. That's what I think. That's what I imagine this be like. I'm not sure, but that's kind of the idea. I'm not sure about modern kitchens just because I feel like you wouldn't really expect them to have a lot of clutter, because the thing about modern things is that usually they are minimalist. So if something's minimalist, you won't have a bunch of clutter everywhere. You'll have very simple, very refined, very simple shapes and stuff, very smooth, all that stuff. So you wouldn't really expect to see lots of clutter and plants and whatever, but I don't know. Sometimes you just have to do that. You just have to add some more detail to make it look cool. That's why I struggle with modern builds typically, because with older historical styles, things are a lot more ornate. There's a lot more clutter, there's a lot more detail, and I feel like that makes it easier to make something look good because you can just keep adding a bunch of stuff and make it look cool. But with modern, everything's very minimalist, very simple, so then it's very easy to mess it up because there's very little to do with it. So that's why I tend to struggle with them, because I can't figure out what to put in them, because you basically have one shape and you're like, okay, you're done, and I'm like, that's it. Like, it doesn't look good, it just looks like a shape. So I don't know. Not that I don't like modern architecture, which I really do. It's just that it's hard to replicate in these kind of games. Or maybe just for me. I mean, maybe just for me it's kind of hard to replicate. I prefer historical styles, but maybe that's just because I like history, so I don't know. I did add a lot of plants everywhere. I feel like in The Sims, if you don't know what to do, just add plants. I feel like you could just do that for anything too. In real life, don't know where to put somewhere, add a plant. Don't know what to put somewhere, add a plant. Don't know what to put on a shelf, add a plant. Just add a plant everywhere, even a fake plant. I mean, they just look good. They just look nice. They add a lot of life into the space, even if they are fake, but it's okay. We can just pretend they're real, and it's fine. That's what we do in The Sims anyways, because apparently all the plants are fake except for the ones from Enchanted by Nature. I think that's how it works, right? Because those are the real potted plants, and then the rest of them are implied to be fake then, because you don't have to take care of them. I think? I don't know. I actually don't know if you have to take care of the plants from Enchanted by Nature, because I've never tried. I don't play the game as much as I should. I mostly build things, but I feel like I should play the game more, so then I know these things. It makes it better to build. I do want to do some gameplay series and stuff eventually. I don't know if I'll be able to for the time being, just because I don't know if I have time to do that, but for now, I'm just thinking about it, and I feel like that would be cool. Let me know if you'd want to see that, because I'd be excited to do that. I'd have to figure out how to do it though, and make sure it doesn't take too long, because maybe I'll just do like little small episodes, or because like if it takes too long, then it's not efficient, and it's like it's kind of hard to do if it's not efficient. That's why these speed builds are easier, because they take a lot less time than another type of video would. Anyways, for this build, we're jumping around a bit, that's okay. The sink here is a different counter, just because I thought it would be weird to have a sink with just the shelves underneath. So we made it a little bit different, but I thought that'd be kind of cool just to add some variation. I just thought it would be weird because you just have the sink there, and then you would have the counter there, but with the shelves underneath, so then that would mean the sink would go into the shelves, but I feel like it's kind of weird. So we're not doing that. Also, I kind of like how I did those little lights there. I made them upside down using the tool mod, so I feel like that's kind of cool, because it's kind of weird because they just point up, and I feel like it would make more sense if they point down, so you're lighting up the counter space. But anyways, now we're moving on to the next room. This one, it's kind of inspired by Tuscan, but not Tuscan, more like a kitchen, like an American kitchen inspired by Tuscan kitchens. I think that's like a style I feel like that was popular a few years ago. Not like a few years ago, like many, like in the early 2000s, I think, where it was like a lot of wood, lots of tile and stuff. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure it was popular back then, but that's what I'm inspired by for this room. Anyways, so lots of stucco, lots of tiles, lots of wood, lots of cabinets, lots of eventually plants. There will be lots of plants eventually. I feel like this kitchen looks most like the types of kitchens I make in my normal builds. I tend to use lots of wood, lots of tile, lots of like these old cabinets here. I don't know, I really like them, but then also because I like them, I use them in every build, and then it ends up kind of being repetitive. That's kind of what I mean by repetitive, because my builds tend to sometimes be repetitive. Not that I am repetitive, although I might be. It's more like because I use limited packs usually, I use a lot of base game objects, and then because I'm using base game objects, I have a very limited amount of objects that I can use, so then I just keep using them over and over and over and over again. It's also just kind of fun to build these little rustic kind of kitchens. I don't know, I kind of like them, kind of old-fashioned. Like I said, I like historical style, so that's probably why. But yeah, this is kind of what I usually do. This is also why the tool mod's really cool, because I could just add the aprons here onto the little cabinet thing there. It's very useful. I just really like the tool mod. It's very useful. A lot of clutter in this kitchen, make it feel very lived in, like there's just like a bunch of stuff everywhere. And I also added those paintings from Get Together, just because it feels kind of European, because it's kind of European anyways, so that's kind of what that's supposed to be. I also feel like in these types of kitchens you tend to see like the little fork and the spoon decoration. I don't know if it's specifically for these types of kitchens, but I feel like it just feels very fitting, so that's what we're doing. I also added that little tile thing in the back just because it feels very much like what you might see in this kind of kitchen. Although it wouldn't be a blue tile, it would probably be the same tile as the wall, but that's what I tend to see, so that's what we're doing. And of course, lots of terracotta, lots of pots and plants and whatever. And of course, a bunch of olive oil because Mediterranean. Need I say more? I think it's pretty self-explanatory. I also add a lot of clutter in this build just because there's only 2 walls here that you can actually see, the rest are implied, and the room is kind of small anyways, so if I want to add a lot of clutter and lots of things, I just kind of have to put it in wherever I can. I also added those little vines from Enchanted by Nature just because in the reference pictures I tend to see lots of vines hanging out from the cabinets for some reason. I don't know how that works, but it's there. And then also because they kind of remind me of grapevines, and I think that's pretty cool. It might be a little bit messy. I feel like some of the kitchens might be a little messy, a little cluttered, but that's kind of what I have to do, and I wonder if it actually looks good. It actually feels lived in, maybe, because there's lots of things everywhere. Or maybe it's messy, I don't know. Finally, this is the last room, the modern kitchen, even though we kind of already made a modern kitchen, but this is also the modern kitchen, so it's okay. I would use the cabinets that we just got. I would say just got, but it was probably like a year ago or something, but those cabinets, the new ones, I hope you know what I'm talking about, but I already used them a lot in this video, so we're using the ones from Dream Home Decorator, and then we're also using the Cool Kitchen cabinets just because I don't like the cabinets for these cabinets. I don't like the cabinets for these counters. Yeah, everything here is just supposed to be very white, very white, I guess. I mean, that's kind of it. I was trying to be a little bit creative, so I added a bunch of the base game appliances, and then we're also adding a bunch of plants because we're always adding a bunch of plants in these builds. I did add a little bit of color in this build eventually, but I wanted it to be toned down so then it's not too colorful. Also, I feel like the plants already add enough color, and sometimes it might be a little bit too much. I wonder if I did add a little bit too much plants, just because it's not necessary. But I feel like it's kind of, again, it's kind of hard because I want to fill it with something, but the only thing I can really fill it in with is plants, because if you have clutter, it looks bad. Anyways, that's what it looks like. Hopefully it looks good. I added that new plant that they just added, which they did actually just add, and I used the pot from Enchanted by Nature to kind of cover it, because the pot, it's really cool. It does not fit in with the rest of the build, so kind of had to do that, but I used it, and that's pretty cool. I think the build looks pretty okay. Hopefully it does. I do want to make a modern house pretty soon, so I guess this is pretty good practice for that, and that's pretty cool. There are quite a few video ideas that I want to do soon, and hopefully I'll be able to do them, and hopefully you come to watch them. And of course, let me know if you'd like to see me do any videos, any ideas, anything. Anyways, we're now reaching the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all those fun YouTube things that you all know about. This will be available in the gallery, and please check out all my other videos which are in my channel. I hope to see you in my next video, and please enjoy the montage. Goodbye!